Hey guys, I miss you so much. I look out at this empty room, it just breaks my heart because you're part of my family and you didn't come home. But I am so thankful that God has given us a way to keep in contact with each other and to finish our study of the book of Mark. So we're going to jump right back in where we left off. Last time we were together, we were in Mark chapter 8 in the first part. Today we're going to be in the second part of Mark chapter 8, picking up in verse 22. So here we go. Jesus went out with his disciples to the village of Caesarea Philippi. And on the road, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And they answered him, "John the Baptist, others, Elijah, still others, one of the prophets. But you," he asked them, "who do you say that I am?" And Peter answered him, "You are the Messiah." And he strictly warned them to tell no one about him. And then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, be killed, and rise after 3 days. He was openly talking about this, so Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning around and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, because you're not thinking about God's concerns, but man's." Jesus got to have one of those great conversations with the disciples that I wish I could have with you. I read this passage and it made me think about how much I wish we could be in the same place. Because Jesus has one of those sideways conversations with the disciples that all walk into one place. You know, those sideways conversations, like when you're on a road trip and you're sitting in the car talking to each other, or maybe you're on a ski lift, something where you're doing the same thing, looking in the same place, and you're just real. There's something about that sidewaysness that kind of takes away the awkward. And Jesus has this conversation with the disciples, and I want us to learn a lot of things from it. The first thing I want us to learn is, during this conversation, Jesus spoke plainly. Your Bible might say openly, but Jesus spoke openly and plainly about the fact that he was going to be crucified, that they were going to come get him and he was going to die, and that 3 days later he would be resurrected. Now, this wasn't a parable. This wasn't in some type of language that was hard to understand. He spoke openly and plainly and said he was going to die and he was going to be resurrected. Yet when they came and took Jesus and crucified him, everybody ran away scared and no one anticipated him being resurrected. They were totally surprised. Why were they totally surprised when he told them that's exactly what was going to happen? 72 hours. That's all they had to wait. That's not even as long as our spring retreat that we take. 72 hours. They could have gone camping, gone fishing. Instead, they ran and hid because they missed the message. You see, so often when we tune out the things that we don't like, we miss the good parts. Jesus told the disciples the whole thing, and it started with, "I'm going to die." And Peter rebuked Jesus for that. He said, "No, we've got a better plan. Let's not do that." And Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan." Because when we leave holes out of the gospel, we're doing the devil's work. When we take the awkward things out, when we don't talk about sin and what's right and what's wrong and the fact that none of us are good enough, then we don't share the reason for why we need the good news. You can't go around telling people the answer is 3 if they don't know what the question was. 3, the answer to what? The same way. If people don't know that they're sinners, that they have a problem, if they don't know that every one of us falls short, if they don't know that God has a standard that we don't live up to, but he calls us to try, then they don't care that Jesus died for our sins and he paid that price. And they tune us out and they miss the point. Just like the disciples tuned out the good part of Jesus' message because they ignored the bad part. That's the first thing I want us to learn today, is when we leave holes in the gospel, we do the devil's work. The next thing I want to learn today is the fact that Jesus turned the conversation from one of reputation to one of relationship. Jesus turned the conversation from reputation to relationship. It started out with, who do men say that I am? And they said, well, some say you're a prophet, some say you're Elijah, some say you're John the Baptist. And then Jesus said, who do you say I am? And we have this awesome moment. And I think they stopped walking and looked at each other for this. And Peter said, you are the Messiah. You are the Christ. He confessed that Jesus was Lord. And God calls each and every one of us to move from reputation to relationship. It's not enough for us to know who God is and know who Jesus is. God calls us to know Him. He said, I tell you the truth, no man may enter the kingdom of heaven unless he is born again. God calls us to move to a one-on-one relationship with Him. When we say, God, take me, I'm yours. God, be the Lord, be the boss of my life. And we're for real. Jesus said if we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and we believe in our heart that God raised us from the dead, we shall be saved. And God calls us to that personal relationship. And if that's something you've never done, I don't care if you're watching this video in your car or your living room or your den or right here in Chickasha on campus. If you've never said, God, take me, I'm yours, today is the day and He'll hear you. Which brings me to the next thing. We have this moment when Peter says, you are the Messiah. I will follow you anywhere. You are God in flesh. And then the next paragraph, Peter says, oh, Jesus, that's a bad idea. I've got a better plan. And the next thing I want us to learn today is we have got to do what the boss says. Jesus calls us to be submissive to Him because He is the boss. And He calls us to do what He says. And Jesus said here, I am going to die and I'm going to be resurrected, and that's my plan. And Peter said, well, it's not my plan. I've got a better idea. So often we say the things that God calls us to do don't make sense, don't make financial sense, don't make social sense. They're hard, they're awkward. And we say, I've got an easier plan that goes against God's word. Or the things that God tells us to abstain from because He loves us. Those things that He tells us don't do, we say, that feels good. I want to do that. But that's not what God says. God is our boss, and He calls us to do what He says. And if God has laid on your heart something that you need to be doing or shown you in His Word, something you need to be doing, well, that's part of making Jesus boss. Go do it. Oftentimes people will accept Jesus and give their life to Him. And then I'll say, okay, the next step is to be baptized. Jesus said we confess what He's done in our life by being baptized. And I'm not ready for that. Well, did you just say you're going to do what God said or not? We have to decide, are we going to let God be the boss of our lives? And wherever you are, whatever God is telling you to do, do it. Whatever God is telling you not to do, do it. It might be hard. It might be scary. But we trust the boss. And if you had a moment in your life when you said, you are the Messiah, then do what the Messiah says. And the last thing I want us to notice today is, I can't have that sideways conversation with you. I can't be in the same room with you today. But Jesus can. He said, and remember, I will be with you always, even to the end of the earth. That means wherever you are, can't nobody quarantine you from Jesus. Not going to happen. You will never be sacrificed. You will never be separated from Jesus. I have read some terrible stories this week about people dying absolutely alone because of the coronavirus. And that breaks my heart. But I'm telling you, if they know Jesus, they didn't die alone. Wherever you are, He can be there too, even to the ends of the earth. And He wants to. So I challenge you this week, spend some time with Jesus. Pray without ceasing. When you're walking, when you're sitting in your living room, whatever you're doing, make Jesus a part of that conversation. Last thing I want to say is this. You need to talk, you call me. 405-833-5929. That's my cell phone. 405-833-5929. You need to talk, I'll be there. You need anything, you let us know. We love you and we will do whatever we can to help you. I miss you guys. God bless you. Thank you for watching.